Hello and welcome. You're watching ESPN Cricinfo Matchday, brought to you by Maruti Suzuki. It's been a session that's been dominated by the Indian bowlers. 8 for no loss is where Australia were at the start of the day. They've added 81 runs, but most importantly have lost 4 wickets. At the moment, Jasprit Bumrah picking up those 2 wickets. As I said, 354 runs is what Australia trail India by as far as the first innings is concerned. We've got a full house in studio. Sanjay, Manjrekar, VVS Laxman. We actually missed you for the first 2 days because of the contrasting views the two of you have on certain important issues. It would have been fun
like Vihari should not be opening and all that.
Yes, also about the declaration.
So that's a great start.
Yeah, we would love to have had you there, but maybe we can bring that up as we go along. It's a long day. Also joining us, Brad Hodge. Brad, which part of Australia are you joining us from today? Okay, we've lost it.
He changes appearance suddenly.
He's been traveling a lot. Okay, let's start with Ravindra Jadeja. His selection was, much spoken about. At the moment, head is looking all at sea against Jadeja.
Well, even in England, when I used to go and have a look at the pitch, I used to see a rough there. Ideal for Jadeja to exploit, two left-hand batsmen. And these days, opposition have at least 3 or 4. And I couldn't understand why isn't Jadeja playing in England. Finally played 1 game, got 7 wickets or something, but didn't quite make an impact. So only because there is a rough and he has such a good record against left-handers, I felt the need to play Jadeja. And I think with Ashwin unfit, it was a no-brainer. So it was not a selection that was debatable or, didn't make sense. So he was supposed to play. He's got 1, and I expect more to come along the way, especially when the major surface is quite flat.
Interesting that conversation we were having before we started. You were of the opinion that if it's a hard track, rough that we see here at the MCG, it becomes even tougher for batsmen to play on.
Yeah, I've always felt, wherever the wicket is firm and hard, the rough which is created is not too deep. But the cracks, whenever the ball lands at the edge of the crack, it takes awkward bounce, and extra bounce will the bowler extract, and also it's quick. So there's no chance for the batsman to adjust. If the wicket is little soft, little damp, and then the rough is deep, while there will be a bounce, but it won't be as dangerous as when the wicket is firm.
And also since DRS has come in, that second line of defense that we used to have of thrusting the pad there and pretending to play it, that cannot be done anymore, because batsmen give you out, because if you think, that you're going to fool the umpire by showing that I'm trying to play. That doesn't happen anymore. So playing from the rough has become really difficult, and actually roughs are now dictating the course of the match. There are matches won through the rough by people like Moeen Ali in Southampton. Nathan Lyon uses it all the time.
We'll take a look at, because Sanjay mentioned about R. Ashwin and Ravindra Jadeja, how they've done actually when playing in those Sena countries. If you look at those numbers, I believe it's quite similar. But of course, Ashwin has played far more matches there, 16 as compared to 9 of Ravindra Jadeja.
Yeah, this is the point I wanted to make, Nikhil, is that Jadeja doesn't quite get the nod as the first spinner in overseas conditions.
Why do you think? Why do you think that?
I think Ashwin is more skillful, and you think, on ranked turners, it's a no-brainer to play Jadeja. Overseas, you feel you need somebody with a little more guile and artistry, and that's why he plays. But the numbers show you that Jadeja is not far behind.
True.
Even in overseas countries, and they've got identical numbers, and the glaring fact there is he's played only half the game that Ashwin has played. So he's got a slightly unfair deal in this regard.
Interesting that you're talking about, why is it that Ravindra Jadeja has not played. I remember talking to Deep before this game started, and we were, at that time wondering whether Ashwin is fit or not, and Deep was of the opinion that no, even if he's fit, I'd play Ravindra Jadeja as the frontline spinner compared to Ashwin and Jadeja, simply because of the left-handers that they've got, the rough that is created.
Yeah, I think because Ashwin was not totally fit in Perth, and we have seen in the past experience at Southampton, 70% or 80% of Ashwin was not good enough, even on the track which helped the spinners, and Moeen Ali, who is probably not as skillful as Ashwin, exploited those conditions. So having said that, I think probably that must be the reason why Deep must have said that Ravindra Jadeja, full fit Ravindra Jadeja will be more dangerous than say 70% Ravichandran Ashwin. But having said that, if you compare both the bowlers, Ashwin is more skillful, and when you're playing in overseas condition, usually the rough is created on the 3rd day, 4th day as the match progresses. But if you bowl first, between Ashwin and Ravindra Jadeja, who will get more wickets or at least have more chances of creating an opportunity, it will be Ravichandran Ashwin. And that's what we discussed yesterday also. The challenge for Ravindra Jadeja is how can he get wickets if there is no rough.
And then Ashwin has to deliver.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't deliver, then Jadeja keeps becoming an option to pick even when Ashwin is fully fit. Because even in the test matches so far that we've seen, he's been mostly economical, not getting wickets. So if he's not getting wickets, Jadeja can be economical as well.
Yeah.
And if there are no left-handers in the opposition, then Ashwin becomes a more sensible choice, instead of Jadeja.
Yeah, since we're comparing Ashwin and Jadeja, especially in overseas condition, let's take a look at Ravindra Jadeja. Also, left-hander versus right-handers. How do the two compare? Is there a lot of difference when Jadeja is bowling to left-handers versus the right-handers? Now, this is his overall test record we've got there, and look at the number of wickets that he's got. I mean, but I'm looking at the strike rate, 53 to 62. Not much of a difference there.
And look at the average as well. Nikhil, when he bowls to left-handers and right-handers, quite similar. So, which is very good for a captain, that he doesn't have a bowler who is only effective against left-handers or right-handers. So that is something about Jadeja. I don't know what the numbers are with Ashwin.
We'll bring those numbers up. Let's see those numbers for our Ashwin. I'm told that there is a stark difference there.
You can see
there.
there.
You see. Yeah, he's very effective against.
And that is why I've been I mean, these are numbers that I asked for, VVS. So this is promote. I'm the promoter of these numbers. So I'm promoting Jadeja as a viable option. And those numbers again prove that, Jadeja is good for both left-handers and right-handers, whereas Ashwin has a clear advantage or more lethal and potent against a certain style of batsmen. But he's right. I mean, Ashwin is the more mature, more skillful, more artistic bowler. But don't forget Jadeja as a very, exciting option as your first spinner as well, sometimes looking at the conditions and the opposition.
Okay, I believe we've got already questions coming in on our YouTube feed as well as Facebook. Let's take that question that's come from Facebook, and I'm guessing it's with regards to the spinners. We're talking about why isn't that Ravindra Jadeja probably be the first option for India versus R. Ashwin. There you have it. That's the question. Rohan Shukla wants to know, Jadeja gives you control with the ball and gives you balance with the bat. Is it possible to fit on both Ashwin and Jadeja in the team, even in overseas conditions? I'll let you.
Well, I think it's tough. Until and unless the wicket is helpful for spinners, which is very rare. Especially in 2018, we have seen that majority of the wickets Team India has played has been green tops, which favors the fast bowlers. The only way both the spinners can play is if Hardik Pandya improves his game as far as a bowler is concerned, because we've seen Hardik Pandya is an all-rounder, but he's not yet delivered, apart from the Nottingham Test match, an impact which you expect from an all-rounder in the bowling department. If Hardik Pandya can pick up wickets regularly and also can control the flow of runs, then you can go with two genuine fast bowlers, Hardik as your third fast bowling option, and then you can play both Jadeja and Ashwin.
In this current lineup, which seamer are you going to drop to get two spinners in? So it's going to be very tough.
Do you also think this is a question in hindsight, now that people have seen Jadeja do rather well?
Yeah,
and
but
now
you
this
can expect Shami to come in and get a couple of wickets as well. We've got three quality seamers. Shami has been actually one of the more consistent seamers for India this year. So you can't really drop any of these three to get another spinner in.
Okay, I believe we finally got Brad Hodge back. I thought that he's disconnected that connection simply because of the scorecard at the moment. 89 for 4 is where Australia is. I don't know which part of Australia you are at the moment, Brad, because you've been traveling a lot, but that scorecard isn't looking good for Australia at the moment.
Not good at all. Yeah, I'm just listening to the bowling options that you guys have, and it's a blessing really. They've toiled beautifully, and that loss of Shaun Marsh just before the lunch break was terrible news for Australia. And India looked absolute dominant here at the MCG. They're just swarming over the Australian players, and it looks tough. They're going to do it really hard today, the Aussies.
The other thing, I don't know, would Australian batsmen be a bit worried now? Did you see that puff of dust when Ravindra Jadeja was bowling that ball that Travis Head was beaten?
Yeah, I mean, it's really troubling to know that, I was looking at them stats for Ashwin versus Jadeja, and the thought of having both them in the side in Sydney after this game is a horrible thought for the Australians, because he looks to be bowling very well, and he can also bat, and he's dynamic in the field as well. So that little bit of rough outside the off stump, most left armers or left arm orthodox in Australia have had more success than right arm orthodox. So he's going to be very hard work for the Aussies this afternoon.
Also, I mean, I'm just looking at the way the two batsmen were playing him. I know Shaun Marsh got out just before lunch, but do you think a better way to play Jadeja would be to try and, work him like Shaun Marsh was,
very
rather
difficult.
than prodding the way
No,
he
it's
is?
very difficult, but you have to be proactive, and
that's what-
majority
yeah.
of the foreign batsmen you see, I mean, including some of the Indian batsmen, don't trust their defense. You see when they were playing against Nathan Lyon, when the rough was there at Adelaide, not many players barring Pujara showed trust in the defense, and he had a plan how to counter that aggressive move from Nathan Lyon.
So how would you play? Let's imagine Nathan Lyon bowling into the rough to you.
Yeah, I would play more on the back foot, because the rough is on an area from where you can actually play on the back foot. See,
This is Jadeja.
67% of the deliveries are on the good length area. So any good player of spin bowling won't commit to Jadeja on the front foot, because you know that he's bowling at a quicker pace and majority of the deliveries are going to land in good length area, and where rough is. So one thing, whenever there is rough, there's also, it gives an opportunity for the ball just to sit on you. So you can always go and play using the depth of the crease. If you commit on the front foot, then you have to counter the bounce, which majority of the modern batsmen don't have the ability to play with soft hands and get over the bounce. So I think that's so important.
The interesting thing about the rough is also that all bowlers can't exploit it. Like Ashwin, we found struggled while Nathan Lyon was able to. Harbhajan Singh has confessed that he wasn't that great at exploiting the rough. Some bowlers are suited to use it more. Moeen Ali for England, clearly trajectory is different, side-on bowling action. Jadeja with his strength as a bowler is able to bowl quick and right up, which Ashwin is more like a guile bowler. Harbhajan Singh also a lot of overspin, so they are not tailor-made to use the rough out there.
It's interesting Sanjay makes that point, and if you talk about Moeen Ali, if you talk about Jadeja, they're not as skillful as a spinner as an Harbhajan Singh or a Ravichandran Ashwin or a Dan Vittori is. So the guys who are very skillful can use the air, can use the fly to deceive the batsman. So when you know that you've got very limited as far as skill is concerned, the accuracy and the control is so important,
and the
that's
quickness
why
as well.
quickness. So I think
right.
Moeen Ali and Jadeja fall into that bracket, and that's why someone like Nathan Lyon is special, because he can deceive the batsman in the flight. He can use the drift, at the same time he's got that control of landing the ball consistently on that good length area.
Also, when you don't have too many options, then you have to rely on the rough to give you whatever that you want. So maybe that also works. Okay, let's talk about the Australian openers. Now we'll start with Finch. Did you notice a plan there, a specific plan, especially with regards to field placement?
Yeah, it was there, right there for the batsman to see, and I was surprised that he played actually a shot into waiting hands of the field. And my philosophy has always been that if you put an obvious trap, you're actually encouraging the batsman to play better, because he stops playing there and starts playing differently. But there was an obvious trap that Aaron fell into, so he'll be disappointed with it. And every time I see Australia bat these days, I think of Ian Chappell, who started the series, said that occasionally they'll get 350 runs, right at the start of the series. So this is a slightly different Australian batting lineup than the kind that we saw during our playing days, and after my playing days, where you'd have Matthew Hayden, Justin Langer coming in and just dominating. These are batsmen who are slightly shaky on confidence. Great for India.
Okay, interesting you mentioned that point, because we've got a question which is very similar to what you were talking about as far as the Australian batting is concerned, and this has come from Facebook. Jessica, if not Finch, who is the best option for opening? Is Australia grooming the next Hayden or next Justin Langer? I'll let Brad answer that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that there's a few options. I think Matty Renshaw is one that comes to mind. Joe Burns, who's played Test cricket before, but yeah, Aaron Finch is a makeshift opener, and to do that in international cricket is very hard. And listen to Sanjay, for a top-class batsman to fall into those traps is disappointing. He's a class player, but he's probably more suited to the middle order. At the moment, we are stretched without Smith and Warner, and they're hard to replace. And you can see the confidence levels of the players are still trying to find their way at Test level, and it takes time. It's not that easy. So, we probably just need to give them a little bit of slack. And they're playing against a pretty good attack as well. This is probably one of the better Indian attacks that's come out. They're challenging the stumps, and they're dominating the Aussies, which is what a top side's meant to do.
Brad, Matt Renshaw, I was very impressed with him when he came to India, played on some of the turning pitches there in Pune. there's another slow one, and he managed quite well. So I thought, Australia had found somebody reliable at the top of the order. What happened to Matt, Brad?
Yeah, I think Renshaw is the option, because we discussed this at the start of this series also, because Aaron Finch doesn't even open for Victoria.
Yeah.
And the mindset of Aaron Finch is more the white ball cricket mindset. And while Sanjay mentioned that there was a trap, but unfortunately because of the technical deficiencies got where the left foot goes across, he's forced to play on towards mid wicket instead of playing in the V. Because his left leg, if it goes towards the bowler or the umpire, then he'll be able to play with the full face of the bat. Because of the technical issues, I think he's forced to play in that fashion. But with Steve Smith not there and David Warner not there, and their strength is Usman Khawaja, Shaun Marsh. So the opening role becomes very important for Australia, and that's why while Harris has really impressed, especially the way he batted in the first innings at Perth, someone like Renshaw showed great temperament in India. For someone, a youngster coming and playing for the first time in India against top-class bowlers, especially against spinners as well. I think the temperament he showed as an opener, good defensive technique, and he had the ability to occupy the crease, and what Australia requires is an opener who, like someone like Pujara, who can play long innings, so that the middle order batsmen can come.
I have a theory, Vivias. I think the next era will see a lot of defensive batsmen emerging and their stock rising because of the kind of pitches that we get.
Yeah.
So let's hear from Brad what he thinks about
I
Matt
wanted
Renshaw.
to know. Yeah, Brad, where is Renshaw? Is he not in the scheme of things as far as Australian selectors are concerned?
Yeah, he's definitely in the scheme of things. Unfortunately for Matty Renshaw, is he played 3 or 4 Sheffield Shield games before the start of his tour and didn't score any runs. So he had about a total of 20 runs. So unfortunately, he missed his opportunity, and Aaron Finch and Marcus Harris end up coming in and scoring runs. That's where they got selected. Someone who can open the batting. I've got someone who might be able to do it.
Akash is missing
but
being
he
on
can't do it
Cricinfo.
for Australia.
Akash is missing being on Cricinfo and being next to Sanjay.
No, but what was shocking is that little moment with Akash, and just no elements in his clothing today. I was looking for at least 5 or 6 elements that he always has when he dresses up. Nothing.
You may see it when he goes on air. This was off air. He's just prepping up for that. Okay, just going back on that point, you were saying these are technical deficiency as far as Finch is concerned, his left leg going a little across and then him playing that. How does someone like a Virat Kohli overcome that? You see him also, his left leg
He's
going
playing
a bit
late.
Okay.
Even though Virat Kohli's leg goes across, but it's not as across as Aaron Finch. But having said that, when you see the meeting point of Virat Kohli and Aaron Finch, Virat Kohli allows the ball to come close to him. The great Viv Richards used to plant his left leg across. Ricky Ponting used to do that, but they never used to reach out for the ball. They always allowed the ball to come close to them, and that's when you are in total control over the shot. Whereas Aaron Finch is too early in playing those shots, and that's why majority of the times the ball will go in the air.
At the start of the innings, you saw Virat Kohli actually play that shot. Straight up, that balls that were pitching on off and middle. You're just hitting towards, straight
Middle,
drive almost for runs.
Maybe a fielder there then. I don't know if this is something that Australia can look at. Okay, our producers have done something very, very interesting. Since we were talking about a plan versus Aaron Finch, this is something that has been done before. And the Pakistanis did that, of course, with the spinners in Dubai. They got him out with a catch-at shot mid-on. It was brilliant captaincy and tactics. This is from the ESPN Cricinfo archives. They got, it was Mohammad Abbas. So, okay, a fast bowler in Mohammad Abbas at 62. They got Finch also. Maybe something that the Indians were keeping a close eye on.
Everyone knows that. It's not that it's no brainer when you see a batsman
need to
that
look
you
at
don't.
data.
Exactly.
Need
You
to have
know
good
right from
memory,
from the first test itself. The ball which is troubling Aaron Finch is the ball which is nipping back in, and the way he's approaching that. I thought in Perth in the first innings he played much better than probably what he did in Adelaide, and it was too early for him to play that shot this morning, because what Australia required is a good partnership. It's not only the amount of runs. If they would have negated and played for 15 overs without losing a wicket, I think it would have put a little bit of pressure on the Indians, because on this wicket, as a bowler, you always expect taking a wicket with each and every delivery, because it's not a great wicket to bat on.
And the solution to his problem is something we've said. Just let the ball come to you instead of trying to push it. Is it because he plays plays a lot of white ball cricket, that he pushes at balls is something that, you know, we can also wonder about. Yeah.
Also, do you think the line that the Indian bowlers could afford with that particular line to get Finch out is also because of the nature of the pitch? That this is a pitch where they could afford this sort of line, otherwise they wouldn't be bowling
Lower the
style.
bounce, you know, the line tends to get onto the stumps. Vives also was mentioning that, I was reading, that the line should have been more on middle
Yes,
stump.
yes.
When there is a little bit of bounce and swing, as we saw in England, nobody bowled on the middle stump. Anderson, the whole series, must have bowled 2 or 3 balls on middle stump. But this is a pitch where you want to be attacking the stumps.
Okay, talking about attacking the stumps, one bowler who's done it rather well for India is Jasprit Bumrah. We've got a comment here, not so much as a question, on Facebook. Jiten, he's a regular watcher. He says, what an amazing delivery, firstly to plan and then to execute on the last ball before lunch. A slower ball Yorker, outstanding up. You enjoyed that one?
Absolutely. And if anyone in world cricket can do that consistently, it's Jasprit Bumrah. And again, credit to white ball cricket, you know, because in T20 cricket, the reason Jasprit Bumrah is exceptional is his consistency of bowling Yorkers. It's not only quick Yorker, but he's got 2 or 3 variations as far as Yorker is concerned. And not many bowlers use the Yorker effectively in Test match cricket, because in Test match cricket they feel that, you know, it's hitting the length more consistently, looking for the outside edge. But that's what Bumrah is about. You know, we discussed yesterday the quick rise, exceptional progress of Bumrah in Test match cricket, and it's just in January where he played his first Test. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, it takes a lifetime for somebody to become a complete fast bowler, and he's already a complete bowler with at least 5 or 6 variations. So he's got the complete range. Equivalent would be a batsman playing, you know, 360 degrees, and that's the kind of bowler that Bumrah is.
Yeah, within just 1 calendar year, I think he's become the go-to bowler for his captain in Virat Kohli. We were talking about, you know, the lengths that you have to bowl, the line that you have to bowl on this particular track. Let's take a look at what Jasprit Bumrah has been doing in this match, and this is just today in that first session before lunch. And if you take a look at it, I think it's what, 38% right on the stump. This is something you wouldn't see outside the off stump. Still 60%. I'll go to Brad. Brad, would you agree that the Indian bowlers have used this particular line more effectively than the Australians did?
Yeah, and generally as the wicket gets slower and lower, that's what you're going to do anyway. So at the MCG, you're always going to attack the stumps and challenge the techniques of the batters. Jasprit Bumrah is the perfect guy to do that. And I love that slow ball on the Yorker. I'd love to see him bowl a lot more often in Test match cricket. I've faced him in T20 cricket. It's just going to deceive as many people in Test match cricket that it is in one-day cricket. But he is going to be a nightmare to face on this wicket the more it goes on.
I don't know, just looking at from Shaun Marsh's perspective, do you think could have been, you know, it's the last ball before lunch, already thinking about, you know, defending the ball, that could have played a role?
I think as a batsman, you don't do that. You know, and Shaun Marsh is an experienced player. For him to understand that he has to play on the merit of the ball, and when you're playing someone as skillful as Jasprit Bumrah, you expect always to play the full ball, and you expect a bouncer, you expect a Yorker, everything you expect, but you always prepare yourself to play the full ball. You know, so I think it was just brilliant, you know, execution of that Yorker from Jasprit Bumrah. And I've always felt that Shaun Marsh is someone who's very, very tentative at the start of his innings. The moment he reaches a 30 or a 40, you see a different body language from Shaun Marsh. But you always feel, and this is from experience in 2011 and 12 series where he had a miserable series, but just the body language doesn't give you confidence, you know, and gives a lot of confidence to the opposition bowler and the team. You know, that Shaun Marsh is going to make a mental error.
Okay, because you're talking about Shaun Marsh, we've got a question, I'm told, by the producer on Shaun Marsh, and this is Rohan Shukla once again, super bowling by India. But do you think time is up for Shaun Marsh and Australia should look to induce someone in the middle order? Okay, Brad, I'll let you answer that one.
Well, look, that's the frustration thing about it, isn't it? He's such a good-looking player when he's going well, but, you know, everyone says he's a nervous starter and he can get out anywhere between 0 and 10 consistently, and that's probably why his average is, you know, down in the 30s instead of up above 50. So his best is really, really good, and, you know, his average is well below par. So, yeah, how long he can persist with him? We need to get a lot more out of him. We need tons, we need centuries, we need 50s, and right now we're just getting little bits of spasmodic performances which aren't up to the level of what we need.
And shows that, you know, when you have somebody whose graph goes like this, it shows that he loses confidence easily. You know, extended run of failures is another indication. So Marsh may be that kind of a guy that when he's playing well, he's riding high on confidence. couple of early dismissals which can happen to the best of players and quickly loses confidence and then gets into the real dumps of a bad patch. So maybe that is how he's temperamentally.
Also, I reckon they don't have too many options. You
Yeah,
tried
that's what I was,
Hanscom, he went out, and then you're using Mitchell Marsh now
Yeah.
predominantly as a batsman.
Just going back to the remark Kerry O'Keefe made about the Indian domestic structure, and the backup as far as the Indian batsmen are concerned is unbelievable. You have got backup to all the players in both the forms of the game. It's not only white ball cricket.
Is it an advantage of just population also?
Yeah, population and the quality. And I've said this before, and I maintain that, saying that the quality of Australian domestic structure has just dropped down. Still remember from 1999-2000, we lost to Queensland in 3 days' time, and New South Wales team was a solid team, and their first-class team used to almost be like an international side. The aggression, the character of that first-class players was, they used to play with a lot of
So
authority.
why do you think that has happened? Can
That-
Brad
that-
answer
yeah,
it?
exactly.
I think Brad is.
Is it
Yeah, I was
sometimes you can just not get talent despite your best efforts? Is that something that's happening, or I mean, whether
I was
the
reading an
coaches at the
article.
grassroots level are not that keen, or
I've got
not
to
too
know
many?
that the coaching structure has deteriorated. While we always used to follow the Australia methodology of coaching, I think it's changed now.
Okay, I was reading an article which also mentioned that they're competing with a lot of other sports in terms of competition. A lot of kids taking on to other sports.
Having said that, India is also competing. If you see over the last 10 years, badminton has really become a popular sport.
But not
But our
as much. They
population
don't
is-
threaten
Yeah.
cricket
Yeah.
as much. Like England, there is obviously
Yeah,
football is
soccer
their
and
first
football,
sport.
Yep.
But I mean, I don't know
I'll get-
whether Brad
also, the
can tell.
difference is that in India, I think rural India is now taken to cricket, which it didn't earlier, and then you have this urban India now going on to other sports. So still, our population is so huge, as Sanjay also mentioned. But we'll take it to Brad. Brad, you could give us an idea why that is happening. That Australian, domestic structure not as strong as it used to be.
Yeah, well, one thing, we're not getting access to our best players. They're often rested or not utilised in the Sheffield Shield competition. The other thing is that, take Mayank Agarwal as a good example that, he scored 2,000 runs in the Ranji Trophy before he got selected for India or even got an opportunity. And he probably wouldn't have got an opportunity if Pratik Shaw was injured. So, at the moment we're promoting mediocrity, and we'll probably get that in the Test match arena. So we have to just press that bar a little bit higher. So I remember when I was a youngster, Alan Border said, to play for Australia, you'll have to get 3 or 4 big hundreds in the calendar year to try and get selected. And that was pretty clear. And that's what you've got to do. Right now, that doesn't seem to be the recipe of what we're selecting on. We're selecting more on talent or hopeful talent instead of results.
Do you think that's going to change, Brad? Do you think that we'll see some great talent coming in and really competing? And as you had to get all those runs to get into that Australian playing 11, do you see that happening?
Well, I think it has to happen for us to gain success. I mean, I'd like us to be that desperate. I just think we're just in the bottom of a rut at the moment. We've been up for so long. We've been a very competitive Test nation, and now we're just sort of down the bottom. So, you have to ride that roller coaster of waves. At the moment, India have got a pool of talent. England are going pretty well. So for us, we've got some great youngsters coming through. There are some seriously talented 17, 18-year-olds, 19-year-old players.
That's great.
It's just a matter of getting them into the Test arena. And probably with the loss of Warner and Smith, they probably went more for a cautious approach with some experienced players rather than that youth.
He talks about, one reason why the domestic structure is not doing well is because they don't have access to their top talent. But that's something that's happening
I
in
don't
India
think
too.
they've got top talent at the moment.
Okay.
I can understand,
And
if
what he
you
means is a Steve Smith
Yeah,
playing
Yeah,
with
but it's
David
very
Warner.
difficult. I mean, that's the same.
Yeah, that cannot happen
everywhere. You
now,
can't, miss
Yeah,
your
exactly what I
international
said, yeah.
assignments to play domestic cricket. But having said that, what's the top talent? We're talking about just 2 batsmen, Warner and Smith, missing out.
Yeah.
And the rest of the players who are part of this squad is the top talent in Australia. I can understand this if it would have been 5 years before. When you had Ricky Ponting, you had Gilchrist, all the greats, then it's understandable from 2000 to 2010. But I think as the year progressed, if you see over the last 8 to 9 years, the top talent is very limited in
I think
Australia.
Brad made a very good point in the sense that because Steve Smith, David Warner are missing, they have taken the safety first option and gone more for experience rather than actually Test match credentials. Aaron Finch being a prime example.
Yeah.
So he reckons there are a few young good batsmen coming up through the rank, but they were not going to get a break because of what has happened in the recent past. They're missing class, they're missing experience. So it would need a very bold selection committee in this team to breed in 2 or 3 young talent. But I'm just happy that there are some, special talented people coming through, which is great, because it's not going to happen with Australia like we saw with West Indies, but
Okay.
yes.
Plenty of people watching us on social media and they're enjoying the conversation. So we're getting a lot of questions. But meanwhile, I'll just give you a quick comment by Abhijit. He is loving Sanjay's new look, he says. Since we were talking about all
Sanjay is surprising us. He's talked about Akash new look.
Yeah,
and,
that is why I mentioned
elements
that.
of, but Sanjay,
Abhijit says
especially his glasses. I've been following him.
The glasses are a necessity now.
No,
it's not for
but
the
it's
look.
quite designer. I've seen right from the England series.
You can
he's
say
become
thank-
very fashionable.
Yeah.
See, the other thing with the beard is that I've seen a lot of powerful people in great positions with a beard. So I
What
think
about
this
tattoos?
works.
I don't see any tattoos
No,
on
no,
your
that
chest.
will come very shortly. Maybe on the face, like Mike Tyson.
Since you talk about the beard and the tattoo, I read the tweet of the match has been so far. This one gentleman mentioned that the reason Australia can't get the Indian batting order out right now, the openers, because it's the first time they got openers without beards and tattoos. So they haven't got a strategy for Indian openers without beard or tattoo, because it's become so common in the Indian team. Okay, I've been told plenty of questions coming in. I have to take those questions. There's one on Facebook by Harshad. What is the reason for sudden change in approach and captaincy of Virat Kohli from defensive and conservative to positive and attacking?
Quality of bowlers, and I've always felt this, and I always believe that a captain is as good as your bowling unit, because the best bowlers don't require a captain, because the best bowlers think by themselves. They have their field placements and they execute the game plan they have for each and every
So do you think
batsman.
that's why Dhoni was a little more conservative when he was captain in
yes.
India in overseas matches?
Again,
bowling attacks?
yeah, with Dhoni's captaincy, you see Dhoni prior to 2011 and post 2011. The moment Harbhajan Singh, Zahir Khan, the experienced bowlers started to retire or finish their career, international career. That's when the approach was totally different as far as Dhoni's captaincy is concerned, because all these players, the new breed of fast bowlers or the bowlers, were just coming into international cricket. They were inexperienced, and that's when the captain had to be mindful of the inexperience of the bowlers. So I always feel that if the bowlers are executing their plans, the captain always looks good.
Okay, more questions now. This one is for Brad Hodge, and this is also on Facebook. Jessica again. It does seem that winning the toss is more important and puts the other side
Where is
at a
Kartik Molly?
disadvantage. Do pitches that
And where is
deteriorate by
that
day
Monga
three.
had a theory on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, please continue.
Okay, I'll just let Brad answer that.
Sorry.
Toss being very important, then I'll come to you.
Well, yeah, the toss is important, and I think that more importantly is first innings runs. I mean, if you can win the toss and bat, but if you don't get first innings runs, then you're in trouble. So the wicket was green the first morning, the MCG. So, and there was talk. Alan Border suggested that whoever wins the toss may bowl first. So, good courage by Virat Kohli, and more importantly, good execution by the openers to take time out of that new ball, and then Pujara and Virat get a winning partnership or a match-winning partnership, which puts India in a good position. So it's not more about who wins the toss; it's more about execution, about what you actually do after you win the toss is more important.
Two teams are slightly evenly matched. I think toss plays a big role. You bat first, get some runs on the board, and getting big scores in the final innings of a test match has become really difficult for the kind of players that we have currently. So it is a big advantage winning the toss and batting first. Having said that, I have a theory that the team losing the last test match, for example, Australia won the last test match, India has the option to decide in the next test match, the losing team, what to do first, just to make the contest a little more even, because the toss is playing a huge role in deciding, who has it's not like a tennis match where you get to serve from one side or,
but
two
don't think
side
it
or
would have,
serve.
yeah, but don't think it would have made much of a difference here, because Tim Payne came out and said, no, I would have bowled first on this strike.
Yeah, I think that's a different view of looking
But
at
are
the
they
wicket.
being honest after losing the toss? I don't think the captains are being honest. Oh, I would have loved to, because they would want to show that we're still happy with what has
maybe,
happened.
okay.
Now.
It's
Just to
posturing in
follow
that
up on what
sense,
Sanjay mentioned, I think because of T20 cricket, all the modern batsmen are more, better at playing aggressive cricket. But as the wicket deteriorates, I think your defensive technique is as important, probably more important than showing that aggressive nature. And that's the reason why in the third and the fourth innings of a test match, you don't get big scores, unlike it used to happen in the past. And that's why the first innings is very, very important. And more results are happening now, even though the wicket is not as challenging, but as the wicket deteriorates, you get more opportunities for the bowler to bowl well and pick up wickets.
So not
defensive
enough
technique.
VVS Lakshmans these days to
No, it's
bat
not only
well in the
Laxman,
second
but
innings.
it's more about the
he used to
defensive
be
technique.
very good, isn't it?
Yeah,
One
it's
of
also
the-
trusting your defense, because as a fast bowler or as a spinner, you can exploit the conditions much better in the second innings with the uneven bounce. Sometimes the rough is created if you're playing in subcontinent conditions.
Okay, completely out of time. The players will be out for that session, but we have to do Fab 4. You can't get away. Let's quickly bring you the scores of VVS Laxman, the 4 players that he had selected, and how many points did they fetch him. 40 points, all thanks to Jasprit Bumrah. Ishant Sharma gives him 20, and then 21 points for Usman Khwaja. Unfortunately, that's not going to be added anymore. So 81, but you've got a good chance with Bumrah there to give you more points. Okay, let's take a look at Brad Hodge now. The 4 players that he had picked, he sent it via email to us. Oh, he went with 3 Australian batsmen. That may not be a good strategy, yet he is leading at the moment.
Sorry,
with
Brad,
80
game over.
80.
Yeah. No, I was selecting for the second innings, not the first innings. I'll be back out.
Will
Oh,
there be a-
okay, you're expecting, post the second innings of Australia to start.
Okay, completely out of time. Before I leave, quickly show you the leaderboard. You already saw their scores. It was 83 to 81. So Brad Hodge overall leading 426 points, 372. But as we've seen with VVS Laxman, it's the final session is where he actually comes into his own, even as a player and now as an analyst, where he gets all those runs. Quickly, before we wrap up, just to make Sanjay Manjrekar a little more happy, Jaya here says that he loves your accent. Okay, so loves accent. Yeah, your accent in
I have an
commentary as well as here. Maybe that it's that Maharashtrian accent, maybe a little bit. I guess.
Maharashtrian accent.
Must be. I mean, I'm just guessing. Where else? How else will you have an accent? It has to be your mother tongue that brings some sort of
My
accent.
mother
So-
tongue, by the way, was Tulu. She was a South Indian.
Ah,
But anyway,
yeah.
let's not get there.
Okay.
Irrelevant.
Maybe it's a Tulu accent. Then, I
Yeah.
guess.
I'm expecting a mail or comment from Jaya. Is it Maharashtrian accent
Okay,
or a Tulu
Jaya.
accent?
Jaya,
Or a
do send in
English-
your comments. We'll try to take it during the tea time show. For the moment, that's all that we have for you. Brad Hodge, thanks so much for joining us. VVS Laxman, Sanjay Manjrekar, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you again at tea time. You're watching ESPN Cricinfo Match Day, brought to you by Maruti Suzuki.